All right,
don't
now we're on YouTube. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's Friday. Make sure to go listen to our other podcasts, please. It would help us out so much
Indeed.
to expand the family. You can listen to Miguel and Holly Full Show if you missed that. You can listen to Miguel and Holly's Blown Off, Queen City Confessions. I feel like now that people are getting more comfortable with this, we're starting to get some spicier confessions that are coming in. So that's been a fun time. So you can just listen to those back to back on each of those different podcasts.
True.
And also make sure to leave us a review and a rating. That would be really appreciated wherever you listen to podcasts. So we're doing this super early for those of you that are watching. We apologize because probably right when you get on at 10:30, we'll be done.
Yeah.
Because
sorry,
I got to get my hair cut.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, that's valid.
I'm
It's
sorry.
not.
Yeah, no, listen, that is what makes me a better human being. Because right now, I feel like an old, ragged hobo.
But you don't look it.
Well,
No.
because Holly, you've been seeing me in camera, and thankfully this camera's kind of fuzzy, so you
Yeah,
can't see all the details.
Now that we have my new camera, my camera's like, precision.
Yes.
And y'all just kind of look like you're on like a 8-bit old school.
We're on a Dell laptop from 2002.
Yes.
So you can't really see, but like I need a haircut, and my barber hasn't had a lot of openings lately. So the only way I can get was 11:15. So I'm like, gotta go.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It is what it is.
Does anyone have anything they wanted to bring up first? Because I do have a hot topic that I wanted to discuss today.
Oh, a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with the hot topic.
Yeah, we're gonna go with the hot topic.
Okay.
I'm okay right now.
Kelvin?
I'm good.
Good?
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, let's go into the hot topic, which, by the way, this was always my favorite part of The View when I used to watch it when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love to see those women talk. It's so fun. Barbara Walters, Lisa Lang.
Gay.
Who
Yes.
says that?
Gay.
I was 11.
Middle-aged white women and
Star
11-year-old
Jones.
Miguel.
Don't forget about Star Jones.
Well, okay.
I know. Like, I sometimes wonder, and my mom will probably never tell the truth, but I'm like, was she ever like, who are you? Like, I remember literally that summer sitting in the living room watching The View and being so excited every day to watch it at 11 years old.
Like, yes, absolutely. I say that as a parent now who sometimes looks at my own child and I'm like, what's going on here?
What is that?
What are you?
It's just so fascinating to me because it's like, I think a lot of parents get wrapped up in like, I'm going to have a baby. It's mine. And this is my little thing to mold and craft. That's cute that you thought that. No,
Nope.
you're birthing a human that's going to grow into its own whole thing.
Mhm.
And you just like you are blessed and lucky to be able to guide this human. But you don't really have a say in who they are organically. So I just find it so fascinating to watch the personality develop of another human being that I happen to give birth to. So yes, I guarantee your mother was like, what the hell?
Especially with my brother who came before me. And then I'm like, I want to watch The View.
Yep, was the whole thing.
Here we go with the damn question.
Or I remember when I was in elementary school and I remember asking my mom if I could stay up because my bedtime, I think, was 7:30. And I asked her if I could stay up to 8:30 so I could watch Extra. I was like, I just want to see Extra with Nancy Phillips.
Nancy Phillips.
Husband as child.
Yes, honey. All right, so here's the hot topic for today.
Okay.
If you're not in the political world, someone else has thrown in their hat to be the Republican nominee for president because, Donald Trump declared his presidency. Now, Nikki Haley, who was the governor of South Carolina, she also was the ambassador during the Trump era to the UN. She threw her hat in the ring to run for the Republican nomination for president. Well, the controversy has sparked yesterday because CNN anchor Don Lemon tried to throw barbs. He totally missed the mark. Now,
because at first I was like, was he even throwing barbs? And he was. Like, I think it started from him trying to like be shady.
Yes.
But okay, go ahead.
Well, so basically, when Nikki Haley announced her candidacy, she basically said, hold on, let me get the quote here. She wanted a mandatory mental competency test for politicians over 75, something
Yes.
that would target both Biden and Trump.
Right.
And then this is where Don Lemon yesterday morning tried to throw barbs, but missed the point. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. The audio's not working for
Apparently
the
everybody.
people watching. Sorry. Could y'all hear it? Or could you hear it, Holly?
I heard it.
I heard it.
I'm
But
sorry.
I hope it's like on the audio of the podcast.
Hold on. Sorry.
How are you going to get the audio to go play on the video, I wonder?
Give me 1 second.
Editing,
Goodness.
editing.
Right.
That's fine.
So-
Technical difficulties.
Right. You watching, sorry, you're gonna have to
Just bear with us. Maybe we can edit this part out of the
yeah, I'll edit out of the audio.
when we upload it because yeah.
Hold on.
Sad day.
I don't
Is it
know.
a program 1 issue? Like that's my first go-to. Is it in program 1? Or in
No.
program whatever program it is to go into the
Here, I'm
feed?
gonna do this. Hey, you watching? Let us know if you can hear this.
Yeah. Let us know when you hear it. Like Don Lemon talking. Anybody? Anybody still
Oh, wait, no. Okay, hold on. I got it now.
Oh.
Sorry.
You got it now?
Got it. All right.
Nothing.
All right, sorry. You're gonna hear it now. I just figured out. Sorry, this is what happens when we as radio people have to do everything.
I know, but it's really a powerful feeling when you figure it out on your own, isn't it?
It is. Okay.
I did that today. Yeah.
This should work. If you're watching, I apologize.
This whole talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. So I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that politicians aren't in their prime.
We need to qualify. Are you talking about prime for like childbearing, or are you talking about prime for being president?
What the facts are. Google it. Everybody at home. When is a woman in her prime? It says 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I'm just saying Nikki Haley should be careful about saying that politicians are not in their prime and they need to be in their prime when they serve, because she wouldn't be in her prime according to
Google,
Google or whatever it is.
So
this man
Cringe.
kept digging. But like what's crazy is like you could see that it never even entered his mind that he could be wrong about this.
Right. He
Like,
just
it
kept
never-
going.
Like he kept digging. He may have like hit a rock, but he was like, fuck this rock. I'm gonna keep digging around it. Like, I can't believe how sure
Mhm.
this man was relating this information.
So apparently, according to TMZ this morning, so that was Thursday. Today's Friday.
Yeah.
Don Lemon jumped on a CNN call Friday morning to apologize for a sexist on-air comment Thursday that women are not in their prime, but it did not go over well. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Don jumped on for only 90 seconds to address what he said about Nikki Haley and that for all women, He said he didn't mean what he said, adding he's going to continue to fight discrimination against women. He essentially said some of his best friends are women, citing his relationships with Dana Bash, Aaron Burnett, right, and his mom and his sister.
Oh, his mom, not his mom.
He loves his mother,
right?
He loves his mother,
mom, and she's wonderful.
It goes on where told some people on the call talked afterward and called Don tone deaf, with one saying it looked like Don was giving himself kudos for owning his mistake, and he took Friday morning off of CNN this morning.
That's good. That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I get uncomfortable when people start to throw stones.
Right.
For anything. I always want to like look at the context. As I read that early this morning, and even in the context of it, I was like, oh, that was such a buffoon thing to do and say. And all it did was just exemplify that, like, his wrong thinking. Like, obviously, Don Lemon would actively not try to be like racist, sexist, whatever ism.
Because he's gay too, isn't he?
I think he is gay.
Don Lemon is gay. Yeah.
Let me find out.
I don't know, but
check
like
out
y'all
the-
do the Google real quick. But like, here's the thing. What happens, he was
he gay.
so
He gay.
He gay. He got a
Okay.
husband.
Yeah, he got a husband. So,
Okay.
like, obviously, he's probably very open-minded about life, I would imagine. But that just goes to show you how deeply rooted sexism is in the patriarchy. Don Lemon, a Black gay man, is sexist. And I don't mean like actively. Like, I would not accuse him of being like, oh, he's probably looking to like undermine women. Look at his two co-hosts. He's got women surrounding him. He's out here trying to raise women up, I'm sure. But it's insidious the way the patriarchy works like this, because that's just it's like the air we breathe. It's like when people say, oh, systemic racism, nobody is out here nobody that's, awkwardly participating in systemic racism. I shouldn't say nobody, but like a lot of people are like, no, I'm not racist. I'm doing the work. Correct. But it's been so ingrained in how you've been brought up and our media and our culture and our society, you don't even realize that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I take accountability for that type of thing myself, and I really try, but it's like, it's hard to undo it when you're like in a vacuum almost of how it exists. That's what I'm saying about Don Lemon. I'm not out here like, oh, he's purposely like bashing women, or like maybe it's because it was a Republican and he's clearly a Democrat and it's like political. This goes way beyond that. This is why it's insidious, because we don't even realize that we're being ageist or sexist or whatever until it pops out. And then people that are aware of it have to be like, Don,
what are you doing?
What are you saying? And
Right.
he's so like Zendemeyer on YouTube said he held on to that conviction. Yes, he did, because he didn't think he was doing something wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I get confused about, and maybe this is my upbringing, but like I've never, and Holly, please correct me if you've ever like, it's kind of hard to say, in the 15 years we've been together, what's one time that you felt like I was sexist? But like,
oh gosh,
I feel like just from my upbringing and like, especially being brought up by strictly women, my mom and my grandmother, and seeing how powerful women are, that like, I've never, like, to me, it was weird that people thought that women couldn't do things, because in my little tiny brain as a kid growing up,
yeah,
I saw women do everything. My mom was a bounty hunter. She did construction. My grandmother would go and pick up homeless people in a van by herself and take them to the church. So to me, growing up, I always thought, oh, well, women are powerful. Like there was never any other thought other than that. And so then as I got older and then I started to like see how other people think about women in that way, it was shocking to me, because that was my normal.
Right.
So when I hear someone like Don Lemon say that, I'm like, what are you even saying? Like, to me, it's like you're speaking a different language. Like, I don't even know where you're coming from. It's like if I were on set with Don Lemon at that time, I would be like, we need to go to commercial break because I think he's having a stroke. Because clearly, like, the synapses are not connecting and it just doesn't make sense to me. And so that's why I find that so shocking, because I've never had any belief that like a woman wasn't anything. Like I just, it doesn't make sense to me.
So you've never considered that a woman might be past her prime
No,
at some point?
absolutely not. Like, that's why I was like, that is literally shocking to me that not only him, but anyone else would think that.
Is Don Lemon a sexist, or would you think that he is just a man who has sexist thoughts? Or can
Or
you
is
have
there a
sexist?
difference?
Yeah, is there a difference? Like, if you have sexist thoughts, are you automatically a sexist? Like, what do we think he is?
I don't know. I find it difficult to put like anything with an ist, because I
Right.
feel like that you have to be making active choices
Right.
to like really, be a certain way.
Mhm.
I think, to answer your question, he's probably a man with silent, ingrained sexist thoughts. I would not classify him as a sexist. So if I said that earlier, I want to walk it back. I apologize. I probably did, because let me think about this really quick. Maybe like let's make a separation between someone who's a sexist and someone who just has grown up and has thoughts that are sexist but doesn't realize them. Kind of like, do we need to call everyone a racist, which I know is big right now? Do we need to call everyone a racist who has ignorant thoughts about race?
Right.
If
Right.
you are ignorant about a particular racial topic, does it make you a racist? Because these words are actually inflammatory. So I apologize for my statement earlier. The words are inflammatory. Sexist, racist, bigot. Like these words are inflammatory, and they're meant to harm you, because the person, that's probably using them is wounded and wants to wound the other person in turn. But I think we should probably make a difference between, is someone actively using this or are they passively using this?
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to someone making a statement like that, it's like, Holly, in your career,
Uh-huh.
in your experience, what have you felt have been like a sexist decision, action that most men wouldn't realize that they were doing it?
Oh, goodness gracious. All
Because I'm
right.
really trying to like dig down and see like how could someone, because to me like that, like it's hard for me to wrap my brain around that thought,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't, like, are you telling me that like Jane Fonda, who is still amazing, like she's an amazing actress, she's beautiful, she's lucid, like, are you saying that she's out of her prime? Because to me, she's still in her prime. Like
I
she's
think we're having to redefine what prime is.
right.
And I think that you have to realize too, Miguel, that like up until probably fairly recently, it was socially accepted that women reached a prime. Like even in like your mom's age or whatever, like your mom's era, so like the 80s or like whatever, 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s. I think it was just accepted that women reach their prime at a certain time. But that sentiment lingers because it's only recently that women older than like say 50, I think that what Don Lemon was doing was using outdated information. So like a couple decades ago, you would have a 50-year-old woman, like, let's say the type of stuff that Martha Stewart is putting out on Instagram with her little foot traps,
Right.
or who else? Helen Mirren looking sexy on a cover of some magazine.
Madonna.
Curtis.
You simply wouldn't see it. You simply wouldn't, because those women were, quote, past their prime, and ain't nobody want to see that. Nobody want to see an old bag. Like, that's what the thinking was. I think that was pervasive. So it was only recently when it started to become more of a thing that like, whoa, women, older women have a lot to contribute to society. Why aren't we hearing it?
Shocking.
So, and that's why literally to this day, you know what happened when I turned 40. I didn't want to say I turned 40.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I still don't really talk about the fact that I'm 41. I don't think I ever said I'm 41 once I turned 41. Because by and large, yes, we've made like great leaps and bounds in the terms of like, look at Jennifer Lopez, who's like shaking her ass and still, in her 50s and doing a phenomenal job. It's still like a thing. But see, when we say things like, oh, but J-Lo and look how good she looks. Bitch don't look 50. She looks 20.
Right. Right.
And that's acceptable.
Right.
Look at Madonna. Madonna looks like a crazy person.
Yeah.
I mean, she does. I think we can all agree Madonna does not look well.
Mm-mm. Plastic surgery.
But you see that. And so Madonna's in her 60s. But if she looked better subjectively, if she didn't look so plastic,
Right.
if she had if she aged like J-Lo, we would not be having this conversation about her. But she doesn't look well. And so people are like, ugh, she needs to retire. Get her out of here. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that because people are uncomfortable doing anything with older women. It's like they should just go and be silent and non-exist and let's be grandmotherly and take care of the kids and give them Werther's originals.
Very Handmaid's Tale. Like, once you can't give me a child, you're not
I think
worth
that
it.
probably is where it comes from.
Probably
It's
roots from that.
fertility.
Yeah.
Yes, fertility. A woman's value came to provide something to the world for men. So when you stop being able to produce children, it was like, well, why are you here? Because we don't want to really have sex with you. There's no point. What are you bringing? So can you go somewhere?
Like I find this.
I feel like I'm all over the place right now.
No, not at all. No,
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like, to me, it just blows my mind because I feel like, if, we always say there's a spectrum of sexuality and like, I'm like gay. Like, I don't ever want to be with a woman.
Miguel's on the gay.
Yeah, I'm on the
gay.
like gay. Like, I want nothing to do with a woman sexually. But like, to me, when I think about a sexy woman, it's like Christine Baranski. Like, she to me
she's so sultry. That's the word I would use.
God, like, just the way she speaks and she moves and just who she is. Like, to me, that, like, if I were if I were on the spectrum of like I was attracted to women and wanted to do something sexually, I'd probably be more into a Christine Baranski than like a Kim Kardashian or a Hailey Bieber or something like that. Because, like, to me, I just find that, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just fucking weird like that. That, like, to me, like, this is just, all of this is weird. Like, I get it, obviously, because I watched way too many documentaries, and like, I remember the first time I learned that like women couldn't have their own credit card up until the 70s.
I know, I found that out too. Long ago, and I was just like, ugh.
Right. Like, to me, I just, like, it doesn't make sense to me why people would feel that way about
women were property for a very long time.
Right.
Women were property.
It's sold.
It's almost hard to have this discussion because it's so heavy, weighty. There are so many different directions that you can take it in. I think ultimately very, very patriarchal views are about power, domination, and control. And we'd have to go all the way back, even biblically, to look at like why most women are not present in the Bible. Like, I think we're having to go back that far. Like, you predate all that and you see some matriarchal societies where the older women are the wise women. They're the healers. They're the, treaty makers or whatever. And it's like we're in that era ended, and then the new era of the very male-dominated culture began, where it's very active as opposed to the feminine passive. And like it's like a masculine leaning culture. And it was almost like whatever happened to make it a masculine leaning culture, it was almost a fear of the feminine because the feminine is so powerful. I mean, we're talking about equal things here, yin and yang. You need both, the darkness and the light, the balance. But what happened when we skewed so far masculine is it's like women got erased from history, from, why we were needed. You have, like, some of the craziest men, like these incel men, out here that don't even understand how women's bodies work, and they're
Mhm.
proud of it. Like, we've skewed so far that even women are sort of shunning parts of femininity and like looking down at other women because they're just trying to be lower than men, and they think all women should be that way, and like women that go out into the working world are not, like, they have a skewed view of what femininity is too, and it's so wide, and it's like legs of a spider. It's too many almost to talk about. It's incredibly difficult to say all the things that give us this topic.
Mhm.
But I do think that we're entering an era of where, like, we've gone as far possible as we can in the masculine leaning world, and like it's obvious. Look at the world right now.
I mean, before we all just explode with the bombs and war and famine and money and everything, it's like,
Yeah.
girl, how much longer can we go on like this?
Right. And so it's like we've completely lost that divine feminine, if you will, that balances the divine masculine. You need both. You need both. We have both in each of ourselves. And so I think that it's sort of the tide is turning where we're starting to let some of that feminine energy back in, but it scares the hyper masculine because they're afraid of losing power. And I think that's where it comes from, some of it.
It's good to be in a place where like a Don Lemon comment like that is getting that attention, because back in 2000, I don't know, maybe 9, it would just be a regular news day.
Yes, it would
yeah.
have been, people would have been like, I mean, he's right.
Right.
So that's the thing, like, by saying that, because you have to then look at, and there's an article that I tweeted out about it, I think it was from The Slate, where this woman had written up a little opinion piece about what he said. And she's like, we don't also want to talk about where it's like, okay, so Don Lemon is saying that women are in their primes in their 20s, 30s, maybe 40s. What are men's primes? Do they not have a prime? Do men really, they just get to be at their prime their whole life? What are the primes for men?
Right.
Oh, we're not ready to have that conversation. But then his co-host, his co-anchor in that clip was like, can we clarify what you mean by prime? I love how these women are both like, I'm sorry, Don. I think you did have a stroke, because
Like, literally, like, you're not making any sense right now.
Right. So, like, let's clarify what that means by prime. Do you mean, what did she say? Did she say sexual prime or childbearing prime?
Yeah.
Because what he's basically saying, he labeled 20 to 40, which is basically a woman's prime childbearing years. And the reason why 40 is because you still can have a baby, but it's more difficult.
Right.
A lot more problems can arise. So what he's basically referring to is a woman's childbearing years prime.
Mm-hmm.
Because why else would you say that? Yes, after you can't get, that's why right now concurrently we're having this thing with, I don't even remember, Matt, whoever the fuck was so angry that Chelsea Handler just did a whole thing about how she wakes up and she doesn't have to take kids to school.
Oh my God.
She was like, look at me living a childless life.
Yes.
And it became a conservative talking point recently, where they were so shook because she's just miserable and she's gonna be alone, and like, why are you so triggered about this woman celebrating her child-free life? Why are you so triggered? Like, it's just very interesting at this point we're at. So Don Lemon over here talking about childbearing years, them being so upset that she's not having kids. It's all in the same.
Wait, hold on. Let me play it for you. And I know how to play the audio now.
Oh, that's good.
Share screen. Doot. Beep, boop, beep. Ugh. I just see that face and it makes me mad.
Life of a childless woman. The point is to make you feel good about being an aging.
By the way, for you listening, this is Tucker Carlson from Fox News, who has a guest on talking about Chelsea Handler.
Deeply unlikable woman who never had kids.
Feminists like Chelsea Handler, they've been lied to by their society forever. That you could be a girl boss and you can do anything a man can do, which everyone who's ever seen a woman back up a vehicle knows that's not true. Your womb resembles a dried up tumbleweed blowing down an old western town, and your Valentine's Day date for the 10th year in a row is a 10-year-old copy of Magic Mike and a half full bottle of Xanax.
This lady is miserable. I mean, she is miserable.
This is conservative commentator Ben Shapiro.
And it's written all over her face how miserable she is.
Hey, everyone. I woke up this morning, well, more like this afternoon, and noticed that there was an emergency meeting of the Receding Hairline Society to discuss a comedy video I filmed about not wanting kids. Wow. Why would I even need my own children when I get to hear these crybabies all the time? I mean, I can't believe that bearded version of Tucker Carlson thinks I would take a half a bottle of Xanax. I take way more than that, you silly goose. Look, I don't want to debate whether or not I'm a girl boss, although I did just look at my bank account and think that's pretty girl boss. And then I thought about the 10 different people, plus 10 plus different people I've been able to put through college. And then I remembered my 6 New York Times best-selling books. Or was it 5? Oh, no, it was 6. And then I remember my recent stand-up special that was just released on Netflix called Revolution. And I thought, yeah, you are a girl boss. You guys seem so triggered by me. I mean, my goodness, Tucker, I think it is time for you to ask yourself a serious question. Are you really upset about how much freedom I have? Or are you upset that you haven't been able to take it away from me yet? Oh, and quick shout out to Ben Shapiro. Thank you for helping my cause of not having children. Who needs the birth control pill when your voice is 100% effective? I don't need a husband, Ben, because I'm in a relationship with myself. And at least in my relationship, someone can get a woman to come. And by all means, Tucker, if you want to respond to my triggers, I will be happy to keep putting out videos as long as you want. I think we both know that you are hate masturbating to me. And I'm down with that.
A day in the life of a childless woman.
Man, what a mess.
Oh
I just,
my gosh.
it's still playing.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I've seen a number of TikToks on this where it's like men feel like the worst thing that they can say about a woman like this is that she's going to die alone. Okay.
Right.
Is that so bad?
Is that so bad? So you're assuming I also don't have friends
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
or anybody else in my entire life. But what it is a tell, because I think these men are afraid of dying alone. And that's what all these TikToks have said. I think I've even said this on this podcast before, but it's like some of these hyper masculine, whatever their version of masculine that they think is like the best.
Because they not.
No, I have very different views on that.
I'm pretty sure my gay husband can out masculine them any fucking day of the week.
Period.
Masculinity is very subjective also. So is femininity. Like we're talking about something that is, you could have an opinion on, whatever. But so whatever they think it is, like they're so deeply afraid to be alone. Why is that?
Right.
They've not done any work on themselves to actually figure out who they are besides talking points that they've been given and that they're parroting. It's just it's so insane. And so that's why I was really shocked, because I do like Don Lemon for the most part. But when I heard that today, I was like, what the fuck, Don, not you. And so I'm holding, like, I lean liberal, obviously. But what I like to do, even as a liberal person, you hold those people accountable.
Right. Absolutely. 100%.
I'm holding Don Lemon accountable. Like I said earlier in the podcast, he's probably not sexist in an active way, like trying to like hold down women so he can make more money. I don't know. I hope not. But he very much has this belief somehow rooted that women have a prime and men don't. Because why else would he be uncomfortable with the part about, oh, I'm very uncomfortable with putting age limits on stuff. Was he talking to, what's her face? Nikki Haley? That she shouldn't be putting age limits on everybody? Because he's kind of like warning her. He's like, you shouldn't be talking about Biden's age
Right.
or Trump's age, because look in the mirror, my friend, you're already past your prime. Well, what does that have to do with anything? So, okay, so let's just say for like some kind of crazy devil's advocate, let's say Nikki Haley is past her prime. What does that say about our fucking president and the other guy that wants to still run as the fucking president?
Mm-hmm.
Is Don
Where are
Lemon gonna
they?
take himself off of CNN when he reaches his prime? Like, make it make sense.
It's like when you follow the logic, it doesn't make sense. Like, that's why I wish that they would have been like, hold on, we're not going to commercial break. Don, let's go down this train of thought that you have right now, and let's see where the conclusion gets us to, because I have a feeling once we get there, you'll realize you don't make any fucking sense right now.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just have to do that. Like I remember I used to do that with friends that would say to me, this was years ago, like back on all the apps like Grindr and Tinder and stuff, and people would say white guys would be like, no fats, no femmes, no Asians, no blacks on their profile. Like, and that would be the first thing you would see on their profile. And I had some friends that would say like, oh, well, I wouldn't date a black guy, as they're telling me this as a black guy.
Right.
And so I would be like, all right, well, let's follow this logic for a second. What is it about my skin, not my physical features? Because yes, you could say, oh, Miguel, you're a little fluffy. Got it. Maybe you want a hard-bodied person. So you're telling me if Michael B. Jordan came up to you, you wouldn't date him because of his skin?
Skin.
Let's walk through that.
Right.
To tell me when we get to the conclusion of this, how what you're saying is not racist.
Right.
So I know you're not racist, but what you're saying is fucking racist when you follow that logic. So sometimes, and like I would never have an accusatory tone. I would just be like,
right,
let's just follow the logic. Let's just go with it.
Because you're not going to change hearts and minds with an accusatory tone.
Right.
No one has ever been bullied into changing their opinion. What changes people's thoughts and behaviors and patterns is to have open-minded conversations, and I know that can be difficult for some people. So then that's not your job.
Right.
No one's saying you have to, be a light and be a leader in the community. That's fine. But the only way that people get, start to think about things in a different way is you meet them where they are a little bit, and you're like, hey, so let's really have a talk about this. Sometimes it has to be like repeated until it sort of clicks that it's like, oh, I see. And then they have to have time to feel some embarrassment and non-judgment. And they have to like have some time apart to be like, that's not what I meant though. We know.
And I had a couple of friends that did that they were like, oh, wow, I really need to look at why I feel this way.
Right.
And I'd be like, listen, that is what our country has done to our society for the past 300 years. Yeah. And these are the things that were brought out during, that summer of George Floyd, of what we were saying is that there are so many little things that our country has done along the way and our society has done along the way to make people feel a certain way towards Black people and women that you don't even know why you feel that way. And that's why I always tell people, like, if you look at someone and you're like, I'm not attracted to them, or I don't like them, or I feel unsafe around them, ask yourself why. And just follow that train, that logic of like, how did you get to that conclusion? Because
where did it come from?
Right. Because one of the best analogies I've ever learned about life was in 7th grade in conflict resolution, because I was, of course, a conflict manager. And one of the things that they taught us was that if you have two people who are fighting over a chair in the classroom, it's never over that chair or over that physical desk. It's over, can that person not see, but they don't have glasses, they don't want to admit it, or maybe they want to sit next to the person that they like next to them. So it's your job is to sort of find out the why.
Right.
And to me, that's always stuck in my brain since 7th grade of what is the why? You don't ever just randomly feel a way because you feel it. There is something that was rooted in you that made you get to that conclusion. But it's our job as adults who understand ourselves now to start to unravel that, because it doesn't make you a bad person. But if you recognize that and you continue to go with that logic, then that's where you start to teeter into the sexist, racist, whatever.
If you can understand it and you're still doubling down on it and you're like, no, like, this is it is what it is for this reason. That's where I'm like, okay, there's no help here. And
Right.
now I'm just going to have to remove myself because I cannot have the energy.
Yeah.
For a person who wants to continue to be, or like they are rooted in their ignorance, and because this is just the way it's always been, so this is how I'm going to do it. Like, if you can't have an open-minded discussion, and please take the time, like it takes time sometimes to really change a thought or a belief pattern or a system. And like I said, you have to have room for all the emotions. Like, someone might be suddenly then embarrassed and not want the person they're having the conversation with to judge them, and even they're judging themselves now, and they're like, how could I do this? So it's like you have to leave space for all the emotions and be non-judgmental. But it's a lot very similar. The tracks run very similarly parallel to racism. Same thing as sexism, where it's just a system of oppression. It's a system of oppressing a group of people. And that's where it stems from, which comes from, like I said, power, domination. When you have a lot of people that have gotten into power, don't want to let that go.
My recommendation on the race category is this documentary, The 1619 Project on Hulu. It started as a magazine, basically, of the New York Times, sort of like a little special edition, where it was like, this was the group of slaves that were brought to the Americas. And it sort of follows the line in different offshoots of Black life in America. It was a magazine, and then it was a book, and then it was a podcast. And now the author of it's a documentary. It's like 4 or 5 parts on Hulu. I watched it. So good. So I know it's not the most fun to watch those sort of things, but if you're ever like, you know what, I'd like to educate myself, I'd like to know a little bit more, 1619 Project on Hulu. All right.
Okay.
I gotta go get my black haircut, girl. Ooh.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I feel like because I wasn't quite prepared for this time. I didn't know what the hot topic was, but I feel like I could have been a little bit more better prepared. But I hope what I said makes sense.
100%. Holly, what's your social media?
Radio Holly, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
Producer Kelvin?
At Kelvin Live, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Subscription.
At Miguel Fuller, TikTok, Instagram. You can find me everywhere on all of those apps, and Be Real. And if you have Peloton, Miguel Fuller on there. All right, we'll see y'all on Wednesday, because Monday is President's Day. Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Catch it on the iHeartRadio app,